To win in the game of life, you need three things. One is information, second is access, and a trusted network which will actually help. Because I could have a large, like maybe LinkedIn network, but are these people helpful?
Yeah.
So it's very important to have a trusted network which actually helps in your journey. I call them your 11 p.m. people. Like, if you get in trouble, they'll show up. It's always be networking. Never, if you have the opportunity, never eat like breakfast, lunch, or dinner alone. Having a good social media presence is also very, very important these days. That how you make sure that you have the mind share. Because I do see a lot of products which are beautiful products. They are amazing with great functionality, but people don't know about the product. That's why I think I tell founders that you have to make sure that people see your demo. You have to get the product out there. Make sure that apart from having a product plan, you have a solid marketing plan as well.
Hi, Anshu. Welcome to our Be Fearless podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Would love to know more about you and about your background. You wore many hats and involved in many different things today. So tell us more about your background and what you do.
Absolutely. So I have had an interesting background from a career perspective. I came to the US to do a master's in computer networking. So I used to be a networking nerd. Used to read RFCs for fun. But early in my career, I was very lucky to work for two of the big four firms, Ernst & Young and KPMG. Got to do a lot of Fortune 500, Microsoft, Salesforce, Yahoo, Oracle, Cisco, Kaiser,
That's a lot.
Sun Microsystems back in the day.
And you brand your name.
Yes, I've skipped a few.
Yeah.
And then I did 6 startups back to back as their first security leader, where I took them from 0 to 1. So got a lot of hands-on experience, pretty much all the security domains from AppSec, CloudSec, privacy engineering, governance, scaling teams, seeing these companies see hockey stick growth. So that was a very interesting experience. And I'm also part of a group called Silicon Valley CISO Investments. And we are a group of 60 global CISOs. And we invest our own money in early stage cyber startups. So that has been a very enriching experience as well.
That's very interesting. And how did you transition in the first place from being a cybersecurity consultant to a practitioner? That's a very interesting leap you made.
Yes. So honestly, it was not planned.
Okay.
I think the story is that, I basically was traveling a lot and we had our first kid. And I was like, hey, my wife was like, I can't raise this guy by myself. So you got to be home. And I got a local client, which was still 1.5 hours commute in the Bay Area. So I think travel got me and I moved to the industry as a practitioner versus being a consultant. But I enjoyed every second of my time at these 2 big 4 firms.
Yeah, sometimes those just little events happen in your life. I mean, having a kid is not a little event. And it just changes the trajectory of your career so much. And right now you're more involved in the event side. So maybe tell us more. What do you do? What kind of events you organize? What kind of people you like to have there?
Sure. So I think, 2 fun/passion projects is that, I run a community. And I also do 2 big events, one during RSA called the Cyber Entrepreneurship Summit, and one in the fall in the Bay Area called the Bay Area Cyber Leadership Conference. And the community I run is called Tejas. It's a project-based community. So I've been part of a lot of communities in my career. And what I found that they were pretty loosey-goosey and not really focusing on serving you.
Right.
So you say, hey, let's create a community where the intent is to serve you. And we have 4 projects. One is around mentorship. One is around entrepreneurship. One is around actually health, because we want to take care of you holistically. And one is Project C, which is Path to CX. So like, how do we help people land and maintain C-level positions? So it's very interesting, some of the work we have been doing.
Combination of everything practically.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we also were part of Cyber Entrepreneurship Summit. So maybe let us know, like, how do you go? How, the event went and everything.
Yes. So I think the motivation was that, you have CISOs coming from all over the world to RSA. And I wanted something which is very interesting to CISOs, both in their current and post-CISO career. So I said, hey, let's do a summit which focuses on an entrepreneurship summit for CISOs, CISOs becoming CEOs, CISOs becoming founders, CISOs becoming venture capitalists, CISOs becoming virtual CISOs, talking about fundraising. We also actually had a startup showcase where SquareX actually was chosen as the most promising startup. So a lot of good memories there.
Yeah, it was also quite a pivotal moment for us as well to be recognized there, because at that time we just launched our product. So just to see how acceptive the whole industry is of our product just really gave us this view that yes, we're moving in the right direction. So that was a very exciting moment for us as well.
Yeah, and we had judges who are the who's of who of the security world. So I think this was a very, very well deserved win.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so maybe tell us, what does it make to run a good event? You've been in the industry for quite some time.
Yeah, so I think both as a participant and as did some few events myself. One thing, it has to be content. Events do bring people together.
Right.
But you have to ensure it's high quality, because the major complaint coming from practitioners is that it's all about vendors. Presentations are actually vendor pitches disguised as content, which puts off people, and it's a waste of time as well. So I think and especially business is not done. I mean, it's a first call, so you have to make sure you have strong first impression. My motto has been to do events where it's very content focused, where people really walk away with tactical knowledge they can use on a daily basis.
And what events would you say you're the most excited, like, in the coming year?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about the one which I'm doing, the Bay Area Cyber Leadership Conference on October 26th in the Bay Area. Second one, I'm speaking at...
Let everyone to mark their calendar.
Second one, actually, I'm speaking in B-Sides, New York, about cyber entrepreneurship, about angel investments, how people should approach angels and investments. So I'm talking there. I'm also looking at the WASP, which is the Global WASP Conference, which is coming to the Bay Area. So I'll check it out as well.
Okay, awesome. It seems like there is so much happening.
Yes.
And maybe tell us your favorite story from the event that you're organizing. Something maybe not the way it was supposed to be run, and then it's just you still made it work.
No, it's great to see success stories coming out of events. I think people have found jobs. People are writing books together.
Right.
And from what I hear, even an exit happened because of the connections made during one of the events I organized.
Oh, wow.
So I think a lot of success stories there. And I believe that if you bring smart people together, good things happen.
Right. No, it's definitely the case, because events, as Vivek was mentioning before, it's such a great place to get to know someone on a personal level, and not just something that you can do over a call, because you can never build the same level of trust. And that's what happens during this community events. You build trust, you get to know the person, and not necessarily their position or the product that they're selling. And it's just, I think the job that you're doing is so important in the industry, just connecting those, as you said, like, just because you organize an event, someone like had an exit, and it's just incredible. And yeah, I think it's very, very important what you're doing and what you're organizing. I think it's amazing. And in addition just to being a community builder and practitioner, you also actively angel invest. So what do you typically look when you invest in a startup?
Yeah, so I think our job as early stage investors or angel investors is to make sure that we are it's not just money, it's actually pointing early stage founders in the right direction based on our experience. Because many time founders, they're not practitioners, they are builders. Maybe they came from a product background, they came from engineering background. So it's very, very important that they're solving the right problems for the industry. They're focusing on features which are needed versus building something which might look cool but doesn't have, the example we say, you don't spend $1 million to solve a $10 problem.
Exactly.
So you have to make sure that, 80-20, that build products which solve 80% of problems, and then additionally incrementally build those 20% features as you mature.
Yeah. I think it's a great advice because some of the very promising founders I spoke in this space, they really highlighted how important it is to focus on soft skills and being able to communicate the value of your brand and the value of the product that you're offering, and to know how customers are gonna receive the product in the first place before you decide to build all the features and everything.
Yeah, but I think one thing I'll say that for early stage startups, it's also sometimes you're creating a market. So user education becomes also a big component, that you're educating the users about the problem space. And I think SquareX is a perfect example that people have to realize that this is a big threat vector and you got to cover it.
Right.
And this is where I think, I'm glad, what Vivek is doing with SquareX.
Yeah, no, this is very exciting time for everyone in industry. And I think this space is so evolving. There are so many new technologies coming that this is, I really believe, is a pivotal moment in the industry when you really see this jump in technology. So maybe for startups that are looking to fundraise, what do you think should they look for in an angel investor?
So I think the most, because you're looking for smart money. So I think the most important thing is, does who is investing in you believes in you as a person, also is passionate about the problem space, because then the advice and the insights you will get will be invaluable from someone just writing a check for you.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest one, that, are they passionate about the space and do they believe in you? People talk about building your personal advisory board. So I think your angel investors do become your personal advisory board, where they're in with you for the long run.
It's so important. And I think it's a great advice for someone looking to fundraise. So what do you think like 2-3 themes that you see in cybersecurity that are going to evolve in the coming years?
Yeah, I think definitely there's a lot of around SOC efficiency and using AI for SOC automation, where can you replace the human or can you augment the human?
Right.
That's a pretty hot space everyone's trying to use because that's a very labor intensive domain,
right,
and it's very skill dependent. So if you can get machines to do a majority of the analysis and triage, where either at some point in time automated remediation can happen, or you augment the human to make intelligent decisions.
right.
That's, I think I see a lot of startups in that area. Second one is non-human identities. So many of the breaches which have happened in the recent past were compromise of system accounts, exposure of API keys, secrets, and tokens. So the whole life cycle for these non-human identity management is very interesting, and quite a few companies are innovating that space, both from a discovery, observability, and rotation of keys and so on. So entire life cycle. So that's very interesting. Third, I think the companies which is what I call security for AI, and those kind of companies, I think there's still a lot of work to be done there. So I see quite a few promising startups there. But again, that area is ever changing.
Right.
So we'll see how it plays out in the market.
So what advice would you give to some aspiring founders out there?
I think the biggest thing is, a lot of people talk about, grit. I would say networking is very important,
Engage in community events such as yours?
Yes, always be networking, never, if you have the opportunity, never eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner alone. Also, I would say that earlier, if having a good social media presence is also very, very important these days, that how you make sure that you have the mind share. Because I do see a lot of products which are beautiful products. They are amazing with great functionality, but people don't know about the product.
Right.
That's why I think I tell founders that you have to make sure that people see your demo. You have to get the product out there.
Right.
So I think that becomes very, very important. Make sure that you, apart from having a product plan, you have a solid marketing plan as well.
Yeah, building that brand.
Yeah, with metrics based, that how many. Where does my blog post rank? Am I writing the industry's best article on a specific domain where if you do a Google search, it shows up in the first 3 results.
That's very important. So do you follow this motto of having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with someone every time?
Well, if I can, I mean, especially if I'm out of the town, I try to make sure that, I meet people as much as I can. But yeah, I mean, because the thing is, Zoom calls are good, but nothing beats personal interaction.
Exactly.
Because, people see you face to face, they're reading your body language. They're also, it's a more personal touch versus like, I mean, Zoom will always be formal. Like you can never be like, get to at a personal level where people are just talking freely. And especially with Zoom, it's also time bound. Like, you got to finish the call in 30 minutes. And if you're having lunch, there's a more, easy conversation. You're talking about families, you're talking about your experiences, interesting things you've done, your view on things. So I think I love those free format discussions.
Yeah, I think you just think if someone made their way to arrive a certain place to meet you, that they might as well just be present there and really hear each other. So yeah, where do you see Anshu in 10 years?
Me. I do see myself as, enabler of success for a lot of people. For me, it's like, how can I reach maximum people and create the maximum impact?
Right.
And also, in many of our careers, not just me, I mean, our path to wherever we are has always been zigzag, which is lots of ups and downs with sweat and tears in between. So my personal motto is, how can we make the path straighter and shorter for people? So they compete based on domain expertise and skills, not for the lack of resources or information or a trusted network. So I think that's what I'm trying to do for the next 10 years, is to make others' journey easier, simpler, faster.
Of course. And especially when you had to go through some of the harsher moments in your life, you want someone not to go through the same difficulties as you went through. So I think what you're doing is so incredible, connecting people and creating this genuine conversation between people. I think it's just amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us, Anshu, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Anshu. Welcome to the Be Fearless podcast.
I love the name Be Fearless. Like, it instantly inspires energy, determination, willingness to do interesting things. So I love just the name of it. Before we go ahead, just want to let you know.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So one of the things I've seen is, no matter who I meet in the Bay Area, everybody knows Anshu Gupta, right? Every cybersecurity person of good stature will inevitably know who you are. And interestingly, a lot of times, I will talk to them and say, okay, could you recommend somebody who could make connections to, the cybersecurity folks, CISOs and whom not? And they'll say, have you met Anshu Gupta? So tell me, how did you make that happen? Like, run me through the journey of how you became such a fantastic networker in the cybersecurity community. How long was that journey? And because there's a lot to learn here.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting question, actually. And I think I learned this lesson way back, in 2007 when I was at Ernst & Young. I mean, I think I was doing it unconsciously, but I think it got reaffirmed. So what happened was, I was in Ernst & Young, economy was not doing well. I got caught in the third round of layoffs. And basically someone helped me, maintain my visa status back then. I'm a US citizen now.
Yeah.
And this person actually called my home, got people to connect to me that, I want to hire you, basically. I want to help you with the situation. I know, and I came to know about it. Then I was like, hey, I put some good work in the universe, and this is why this is happening. So I think the lesson learned was that you have to plant the seeds and nurture them over a long time.
Right.
And also, if you give positive things in the universe, things come back to you. So if you do things without expectation that, hey, what's in it for me? I mean, things will happen. I tell name, fame, money. These are all the byproducts of the good work and hard work you've done. So I would say that I have consciously tried to make sure that I can help as many people as I can. And now literally my motto is maximum people, maximum impact. I mean, all of us have one life to live. So how do we, in this lifetime, how do we reach out to the maximum people and how do we create maximum impact?
So were you always like a, kind of very outbound, networking, like loves to meet everybody person, or did you have to change your persona to kind of become that?
No, I think actually there's another point which I think why people know me is that I like sharing knowledge.
Okay.
I am like pretty active in a lot of CISO communities, and I was like, I'm not going to gatekeep anything. If I know something, I'm not going to take all this knowledge with me. So I'm going to share everything. If it's not company IP, if it's it's safe to share something which I produced based on my experience, I share it. So I think that has helped a lot because quite like, for example, like Log4j happened. So literally, I was working with a lot of people like globally to help counter that. So some of that work has helped where I have not kept done any gatekeeping. Hey, if I know something interesting, I'll share within the community. I think that's like one aspect of it, which is knowledge sharing. And I think now my motto is like what I call it proactive knowledge sharing, which is I will tell you without you asking me. And it was actually a pretty hard journey for me as well, because I had to come out of what I call the 3M mindset, like me, mine, myself, my life, my career, my success. It requires me, it's a daily struggle. It's not easy to come out of it and be really interested in other people, be very attentive, and also meet a lot of people. Because touch wood, I do have access to a lot of information, a lot of resources now. So like, hey, can I help make other people's journey easier? And it's one of the reasons I love working with entrepreneurs. I absolutely love working with entrepreneurs. Like, it's already a hard job. Yeah. Whatever push upwards we can give, we should do it as industry leaders, industry professionals. That's the minimum we can do.
Yeah, fantastic. But tell me something. When you've been a CISO and you meet hundreds of CISOs, I know CISOs have so much of inbound bombarding coming in from startups, established companies, different products and services. So what is your recommendation? So let's say if you wanted like a startup to really stand out, towards when it comes to CISO attention, what would you recommend?
No, it's a very interesting point. So like my recommendation would definitely find your champions. Okay. People who are willing, to shout from the roof that, hey, this is something amazing. There's some great IP being created here. This is a unique problem which is being solved. So having those champions, I think, will help a startup stand out. Apart from having this personal messaging, making sure engaging other industry professionals. This podcast is one example of that. That how do you get the messaging out there that we exist, we are doing something interesting, so you stand out. Messaging is one of the differentiators for a company. That getting the word out there. And second thing, I would definitely say that if people have not seen your product in action, because I have known some great people, great relationship builders, but I saw them not doing well, and I always wonder why didn't fail. And one common theme was I never got to see the product. So getting your product in front of as many as security practitioners would be a key for success, in my opinion.
Okay, a lot of great points there. So one interesting associated question I was kind of like wanting to ask is, if you look at the Bay Area, it's very closely, heavily networked. And one of the things I think you've done in a fantastic way is the Cyber Entrepreneurship Summit, which you did this year at the NASDAQ Center. I said we ended up winning the Most Promising Startup Award as well. And that was fantastic. Tell me what goes into creating such an event, right? Because I remember you probably managed to get around 100, 120 CISOs, heads of cybersecurity kind of come in together. And that is no easy task, right? Like, because this was right before RSA, people have so many different invites. So tell me what went into, creating that event and making it so successful.
Yeah, so I think there are like two things. One, I decided that anything I do has to be content focused, which provides value to people. Yeah. Which is, hey, I came and I learned something. So the theme was cyber entrepreneurship for CISOs. And many of the CISOs are looking at, post-CISO career, which is, hey, CISOs becoming founders, CISO becoming VCs, CISOs becoming virtual capitalists. And we also had sessions on AI security and how to raise funds and, marketplaces and trends. And so I was like, hey, it has to be content focused, which is literally a conference I would like to go to.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that, if am I creating something which I would like to be part of? If I come in, I stay the whole day, that, this is something interesting, I'm not going anywhere, which was very, very hard to do during RSA.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we achieved that. We not only had people come in, we had them for the whole day.
And, building a community, as you said, right now you're trying to build a community, get people together. How has that journey been? What are the key learnings when it comes to, everybody wants to build a community because, of course, once that compounds, it's so easy to get people's interest, no matter what you want to talk about. But what are the key challenges that you found over the years of building a community, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, no, I think that's been very interesting because, I've been part of a lot of communities and a lot of lessons learned. So one of the biggest lessons learned was that many of these communities stop being focused on the members, really serving them. And, it's like about process, about elections and, titles and so on. And they literally stopped serving what was the core intention. So I, run a community, and we said it's a project-based community. And when we say project, that means work.
Yeah.
And that work has to be directed towards the members.
Okay.
So we have 4 projects. One is around we call it Project T, entrepreneurship. That how do we get people started on this journey towards entrepreneurship? One we have is called Project C, around how do we help people in the journey towards C-level titles. And one is around actually health, that, how do we give people physical and mental resilience to do well in their personal and professional careers. So yeah, it's a great company. It's called Tejas Cyber Network. Feel free to join.
What is
if
the
there's
URL?
interest.
What is the website URL?
It's called tejascybernetwork.com.
Okay. Fantastic. And, any interesting highlights in the community so far in the last, few months that you started this?
Yeah, I think it's been amazing to see, like, when you bring very smart, driven, intelligent people together, they do great things. And one, I think, other thing which I stressed upon heavily is professional standards.
Okay.
Because many times in the communities, I have seen that, you have people who basically create problems from others, for the lack of a better word. So I think running as a private community has been helpful to, keep the community clean and make sure that we enforce those professional standards strictly, even if, it's hard sometimes to do that. But luckily at, my age and my career level, I'm able to do it. But I think people have started companies together. People are writing books together, people have found jobs. Actually, a lot of people have found jobs through the community. So, and just constant sharing of ideas and information. Because, I tell people to win in the game of life, you need 3 things. One is information. Second is access. And a trusted network, which will actually help. Because, I could have hundreds of a large, like maybe LinkedIn network, but are these people helpful?
Yeah.
So it's very important to have a trusted network which actually helps in your journey. I call them your 11 p.m. people. Like, if you get in trouble, they'll show up.
How many of them do you have?
I think, this was a very interesting question, actually. So what I realized that people usually will have, like 10 to 15, trusted contacts.
Right.
And we're trying to scale that. And we are trying to scale it across cities that, if you go to, say, Dallas or Austin or New York, you have people like, whom you can, meet and exchange ideas and collaborate to do big things together.
So, coming to SquareX, right? Like, as I said, like we won the very prestigious award at the conference. I think fantastic judges. So tell us a little bit about the startup pitch event, how you got the judges together and what was the vision behind that?
Yeah, no. So I think one thing is started as an idea for exposure. That one, we got to know all the cool stuff which is being done in the industry.
Yeah.
And also, I think when you put it in a competitive format, then all the startups are trying to do their best. So everyone is basically like, pitching, their best foot forward. So it's a very interesting experience. So I think, kudos to SquareX that, in a very, very competitive field, all these are amazing startups. in different categories, and SquareX, came triumphant. So kudos to you and the team for building a great product.
So what do you like about SquareX? To elaborate.
I think the man himself. So I would say I really have a lot of respect for your journey.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
One, I think, I was glad to meet you last year, but I think I've heard of you, and it's very interesting. I've interviewed people saying, "Oh, I learned from this, website," and they'll actually put it on the resume that, hey, specific courses they took. So it speaks volume to the impact of your work, impact of your journey, that you made others successful in their cyber career. Right. So I think I would say whenever someone embarks on this journey of transformation, there are a lot of lessons learned. So which makes me feel very confident that whatever you do, you have this mindset of the community that I'm helping other people. Am I building a product which will really help other people? Right. So that aspect I love. Definitely, I think the problem space that you're touching, which is at the end point, browser is kind of the last mile. So anything which secures that journey, the touch point, I think is going to be invaluable, in terms of real protection, right where there's user interaction.
And I think, also the whole web security detection on the client side has been pretty latent for a very long time. And I think SASE, SSE, secure web gateways, all of these were there for a long time. Unfortunately, they're coming of age. I mean, one of the big talks we did at DEF CON this year is we showed architectural vulnerabilities in many of these components. And we showed over 25 bypasses based on those architectural vulnerabilities. And, now most of the large vendors are speaking to us, testing things out on browser.security. But I think I've always felt the need to lead with credible security research rather than, just making outright outlandish claims. So anything which is peer reviewed, a great conference like DEF CON as an example, with a very high bar for them to let something go on main stage, was really what I was targeting almost 8 to 9 months back, just to ensure that, whatever we put out, people do feel this is peer reviewed, critical, community, supported, right, to an extent. Because I think it's all about the community, as you said. If once a community believes and rallies behind a certain hypothesis when it comes to a product, whether it's browser security or anything else, I think that tends to compound over time in a very big way. And that's what my journey has been all through, right? Like Pentester Academy, SecurityTube.net, everything that I've done, I've realized that, if you build for the community, if you go ahead and put things out in a very transparent and open way, the community appreciates that. So one of the big things we did at that point was, this is very rare for any B2B security startup, or frankly, even established companies, to put out demo videos where they show the entire product in its whole glory, right, without hiding bits and pieces. And that's something we've kind of done from day zero. So Anshu, kind of stepping back, tell us, what is your vision? I think, you've been a big community man. I think since I've known you, I've attended all your events. They've always been very unique, very personal touch. I mean, I know literally your entire family is part of the event, right? Like I've met your wife, I've met your kids. I think even some of your relatives. I mean, I don't know if that is something they really wanted to, or, was that forced labor? But tell me a little bit about what still keeps you going? Because this isn't easy, right? Like every 3-4 months, you're doing something interesting, exciting for the community, bringing everybody together. So yeah.
No, I think it's interesting. I think one thing is, I actually got my kid because I was, hey, you got to learn entrepreneurship. And she told me, hey, Dad, I want to understand what's going on. I was like, don't worry, I'll tell you. And she asked some very intelligent questions. I think, some of the speakers actually came back to me and said, hey, your daughter was asking interesting questions. But I think the point of, these events is that you bring different pieces of the ecosystem together, which is founders, practitioners, VCs, in a very high quality environment. Yeah. And also keep the content relevant, which is it's something is in there for everyone, because there are tons of social events happening, happy hours, which are very networking focused, and for me it had to be content first, that it's real value add, that I come, and I think that's why we call it masterclass style, that you come in and you have a lot of content in one single day.
Right.
And it has to be across domains. So it's not just specific to one domain, across specific domains with industry leaders speaking. I think has been the motto for many of these events.
Fantastic. I mean, I've been a big fan because every time I've gone to your events, I've kind of seen that you're so engaged. You try your very best to get, as you said, the best content out there. And I mean, in a way, like you're a startup founder yourself, right? Like running all of these events, getting people together. I mean, it is pretty much like a startup.
Yeah, it's like a passion/fun project for me. And honestly, like I never felt like working because I just had so much fun doing it.
Yeah.
And that also allows me to keep it very, very high quality, because had I done it for the with the motive of making money, that wouldn't have been the case.
Yeah.
The reason I'm able to get very high quality is that I'm basically saying no expense spared. We are going to focus on value to people, and we want great people like yourself coming, great startups getting exposure,
right.
Of founders learning something, founders, practitioners coming together. So that has been the intent. How do we get smart people in the room where everyone is learning and collaborating, and meeting up for future opportunities. That we met in a high quality environment. Let's meet again, and to collaborate together.
Yeah, fantastic. So closing things out, tell us what is in store this year. Tell us about the next mega event. Why should people attend it? Any message you have to our viewers?
Yes. So actually, I'm doing another big one in the Bay Area called the Bay Area Cyber Leadership Conference on October 26th.
Okay.
So please save the date. It's going to be very interesting. There are 3 tracks: AI security, cyber entrepreneurship, and data breach response, which is very relevant these days. Everyone is having breaches left and right. So that would be, I would say. But I think one thing I would say that, I really have a lot of admiration for entrepreneurs like yourself. This journey is not easy.
Yeah.
It's a journey of great passion. Also, I was, love the fact that, all the entrepreneurs are job creators. Like, you are basically, creating something from scratch.
Yeah.
Scaling companies. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of travel, I was reading, I think, an article and says, the CEO has to be selling all the time. You are selling to the investors, you're selling to your customers. When you go public, you're selling, to these banks and so on. So it's a tough job, but I love the fact that we have entrepreneurs like yourself, and I wish you all the best in this new journey ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much, Anshu. It was amazing having you on the show. All the best for all the events you do. I mean, we're always cheering for you. From the sidelines, of course, many a times participated in the events as well, and hope to do that in the future as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really thankful, and all the best.
Thanks for having me.